Now,
Hey, everybody.
everyone.
There you go.
Let's get it going. All right. Welcome everyone to the October meeting. Have a few announcements to start us off tonight. We have an event on October 21st, just a tabling event at the Cedar Hill State Park for their Harvest Heritage Festival. If anyone is available to volunteer, please email us. We'd be more than happy to have you help us out there. Also, October 22nd, that is a Sunday, there's a Bison Hill Work Day out at White Rock Lake and with the Blackland chapter of NPSOT. If you haven't signed up already, please sign up for November 4th and 5th. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's the NLCP Level 3 class. So usually, I think it's like levels 2 and 3 are kind of offered alternately. So if you haven't taken that one yet, go ahead and sign up. November 9th and 11th is the NPSOT Fall Symposium in Nacogdoches. So if you've never been to a symposium, it's a statewide event. So people from all over the state will attend. So you can meet old friends, new friends out there, and hear a bunch of lectures that are very interesting about the flora in the East Texas region. And then also there's several field trips planned. So if you're interested, register, and hopefully I'll see you guys out there. November 16th, 11:30 a.m., we have the Dallas County Master Gardeners November meeting. So there's more information on that on their website. So if you're interested in attending that, go ahead and sign up for that as well.
The topic is going to be flies, insect flies.
Okay. The topic will be on flies.
Which
So
is a very unusual topic for the Master Gardeners. Trust me.
Should be very.
Get it.
It's Laura Kimberly. Laura Kimball. She's a master name.
Okay.
Laura Kimberly. Yeah.
Laura Kimberly,
Yeah.
I believe. If you're not sure, go ahead and check the website in case I messed that up.
She's really good. Very interesting.
Yes. And flies are important. You know, flies are pollinators, so it's very interesting. If you don't know anything about flies, you should check it out. And also, possibly November 20th, a seed swap. I guess I'll go ahead and ask everyone here and also everyone that's online on Zoom, if you're interested in attending a social event in November. We usually don't have meetings just because it's the holidays, but if you would like to come out and visit and just be social with the chapter and maybe bring some seeds to swap, raise your hand if you think you might be able to make it to that date.
I'll be on my way to California.
Okay. Let me just get a count real fast from those of y'all that are here. Keep your hands up if you think you can go.
It is a busy week.
6, 7, 8. Okay, so 8 of us that are here. I'm going to keep that. Is there anyone that has raised their hand on Zoom, Emily? Oh, yeah, if you're on Zoom, raise your hand or put a comment in the chat. If you think you might be able to attend that event. Now we can check in before the end in case we get more people adding on. All right, next up, or next slide, please, Emily. I know. All right, and Cindy's going to talk to y'all about the plant sale. Take it away, Cindy.
Woo! Thank you. I was panicking about the plant sale, but I had a right to panic. There was a lot of interest on Facebook for our plant sale, so we went out and bought as much as we could carry, and we had a record number of volunteers. We bought more plants than we ever had before because the summer was the summer from Hades. So we didn't have as many donations as we usually do, but we estimate we had about 550 plants, and we sold them all 2 hours before closing time.
Wow.
So thank you. Because of that, next slide. We would like to start planning next year's plant sales. So what we're thinking is everyone could think about one or two or more plants that volunteer in your yard. Start planning now. Say, and tell us if you can commit to 6, a dozen, a flat of those plants that readily volunteer in your yard, and we can start preparing donations. What I'm thinking is we could do something similar to Rooted In's Plants in a Box kind of thing. But we wouldn't force them to buy those, but we would have lists and say, hey, these plants that we're going to have are going to be great in these different conditions. So, and then we can have a sampling. So it's been hard to know what people are donating beforehand because it's usually the day of. And so I'd like to try to prepare. So if you can start thinking about volunteers in your yard and let us know how many you can commit to, that can be potted 6 weeks before the sale. And the spring sale, from what I hear, rumors, Janet, which is a very good source, is going to be at the Native Plants and Prairies Day, which is the first weekend in May. So we are going to have some time. So start thinking about that. Maybe what?
If you don't grow your own plants, but perhaps you'd be willing to water some potted plants and take care of them so other folks who are growing them can have more room, that's also an option too. I know I run out of room at my house to grow lots and lots of plants, so if you're interested in babysitting and caring for a set of 20 or 40 plants of all the same species, so they should all behave about the same way, let us know as well.
What size, this is my first meeting in a long time. What size are you looking for? Quarts?
Anything.
1 gallons or?
Whatever, however.
Note, I'm in the nursery. I have a lot of native plant nurseries that I deal with every week. So
Our donations run the gamut, 4-inch to quart to gallon to 3-gallon,
Free is good.
Yeah.
Free is good.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
We're not picky if it's free.
What species you're looking for?
No.
Okay.
We have a wish list.
We have a wish list, sort of.
Yeah, I'll give you my email address.
Anything that's popular and anything you can't find readily.
It's always in the fall.
No, we have one in the spring and we have one in the fall.
Grasses, trees, shrub, all the above. Okay.
We haven't had much luck selling grasses or trees, but maybe that can change.
More shade plants.
Yeah.
I'm good
Shade
with
plants,
that.
by the way.
I've got shade plants.
Yeah. The other goal I would like to try to do is try to advertise more nice plants of the season for next year. So those 3 for next year are redbud, Texas bluebell, and gay feather Liatris mucronata. That's going to be hard because they don't specify which redbud. Canadensis, but that's, yeah. So we could probably do all 3. Canadian or Eastern, Texas, Mexican. And gay feather is really hard to propagate and they don't like pots. So maybe we have seed donations.
Or a plant rescue. There's a place that has a bunch that can be paved, so.
Speaking of which, we would love to have a plant rescue committee. So if anybody is interested at any time that can, we'd love to have that, another whole thing. We also want to purchase around 1,000 plants next year from wholesale nurseries. So because of this summer, the word is out, native plants are the way to go, and let's get them in people's yards. We want to be a top source for that, like some rare stuff. What else?
Sorry.
Ooh, do you want to go for it?
So on Saturday, we had our fall field trip. Thank you all who came out. We had somewhere between 25 and 30 people. There were a rush of orders in the morning. as well. So we got to see the eclipse out in the Prairie at Paul Matthews. And we got to see Maximilian sunflower, tons of switchgrass and eastern gamma grass. Got to see some cool spiders. Anything else that we found that was super exciting?
Field paintbrush,
Field paintbrush.
native rose.
Native rose, yes, we got to see the rose hips. Felt like we were walking on the moon a little bit. So when we got back on solid ground, it was like, oh, what is this? Because it was up and down. I think Cindy's Fitbit said she walked 35 flights of stairs. So it was really a cool adventure. It's not a place that you can just go and visit on your own. So it was fun to go out there, and Carly Olicki led us. So she would kind of answer questions, but she also let us explore. And I'm always the kid that gets left behind, staring at this plant, going, "What are you?" And everyone else is far ahead. So she let us also wander and kind of be like kids. That was really fun too. So I am working on a spring field trip, a place that is not open to the public, hard to get to, and has cool plants. So if you have suggestions, let me know. I have a couple of places in mind that I'm going to see if we can get to. Peter.
The Palmetto and Alligator County Open Space Preserve is ideal for what you're talking about.
Do you know who the contact person is for that?
I used to know who it was, but I don't.
Your neighbor just raised her hand.
I'll give it a try. They're very nervous about letting people there, and they would probably keep you on a tighter leash than Carly, if you want, because there are hazards there.
That snap?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Also, like alligator snapping turtles. And
Oh, those are so cute.
I know, it's very cool. And we call Paul Matthews walking the wall.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. All right, well.
Nobody in Dallas County Open Space really knows anything there. I would have to find a naturalist.
Yes, well, but you,
I would want someone more experienced than me. I could just get you in the door.
okay.
We'll find somebody, or we'll find somebody who maybe doesn't know it, but could walk out there beforehand and kind of get.
I mean, the place is awesome.
In boggy. Somebody who knows bogs.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. I have a couple of ideas in mind. Let's see. All right, and then our fall symposium.
Katie here again. I will just, I guess, reiterate. I don't know if you've never been to a symposium, they're just a lot of fun. It's just a bunch of plant people in one spot. Like it's like this meeting, but times 10 at least, or times 100. It's just fantastic. And so it's really good to like get to meet other plant people and just talk about either what they're doing, like the other plants from their region, and just come together and just enjoy plants together. So this is, there's a silent auction there, and usually that's all sorts of fun stuff, either like quilts that have been made or books, field guides, all sorts of fun stuff, sometimes gear, NPSOT merch, gear, stuff like that. Anything under the sun. Sometimes there's plant-related jewelry. Also, they have multiple field trips planned. There's stuff, I'm trying to remember. There's like 5 or 6 options online, so you can pick between those 5. All of them are great.
10 or 15.
10 or 15?
And
Okay.
it's great because there's a field trip during the event, but if you don't go in the event, you can go to one as you're arriving and as you're leaving.
Yes, so there is on the 9th, like pretty much you can, just that evening is a kind of social gathering, so you can if you're traveling that day, just take the day to do anything beforehand and hit up some of those places, get some hikes in, and then also same thing for Sunday, because I think it ends like early in the morning, or there might not even be events on Sunday, but there's time, and so you're out there, and there's a lot of locations that are close in that area. So many, like I think parks and other forests, and of course, yeah, the main
Angelina State Park.
Yes, the main.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the arboretum and all the nursery there, and just all of the things that are just right there in town or close, and the town is really cute.
pretty good.
Yes, it's close and everything's easy to get to kind of out there. So I recommend it. It's always a fun deal.
And we're hoping that Jay wins newsletter editor award.
Yes, that's where they announce all the state awards. So photos, newsletter awards, things like that. So it's really fun to, hear everyone speak about their awards and what they've done. And it's a really good time. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Emily. Oh yeah, so volunteers. We're a volunteer organization, nonprofit. So we are volunteers, and so we always need more people that are interested and want to share their knowledge. And that's it's like the whole mission of NPSOT, is to kind of embody and just be able to we educate ourselves, we share the knowledge, and we help get native plants out there. Whether it's conservation efforts for research or just the general public. And so we are the experts, and it's. I don't know. I think it's important for us to, if you have the knowledge, if you want to get more knowledge, we can help you do that, learn more about native plants, and then you be able to go out and be at the general public events, like at the state park event or other community events at parks. And there's always the community, the city of Carrollton, I know she has contacted me, and she's interested in having more relationships with NPSOT and getting the word out there and just being able to be at events and talk to families, talk to kids, and just get, have more of a connection with nature. So it's up to us for that to happen, kind of thing. So if you are available for any of these options, we will be looking for a new newsletter editor, new outreach coordinator for those types of public outreach events. A nice native plant partners coordinator. So that person would work with nurseries to make sure that they're stocking the nice plants that the state has decided. So, next year it's going to be the redbud, gay feather, and bluebell. So our nice nursery partners would stock those plants, and so they would be available for the public to purchase. So that's what that person would do, and then make sure there's appropriate signage and things like that at each individual nursery. Also a hospitality coordinator for the meetings if you want to, coordinate snacks or drinks, and we always welcome that. So if you feel like you are called to step up into any one of those volunteer positions, just send us an email or come talk to any one of us, and we'd be really happy to have you guys.
Now, I coordinate saving tables for you all over in Sophia and Rossdale.
Yes.
I already have a spot to coordinate.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Yes, so if you're unaware, we always go to Gabrielle E. Sophia's. Oh, yes. Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Oh, this was Janet.
Janet. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so after every meeting, we'll meet up over here, have a great discussion, have some food, snacks, dinner, whatever you're feeling, or just a drink, or just water and tea. It's really good just to visit and spend more time with each other and hang out. So always welcome. And the directions are there. You can just copy or screenshot that slide if you're on Zoom, so you'll know for next time where to go. All right, next. Okay, awesome.
Very dark.
Wow. All right, I'll go ahead and introduce our speaker for tonight. I'm very excited. So our speaker for tonight, she is the author of Wild DFW, Explore the Amazing Nature Around Dallas-Fort Worth. She's also the author of several other books. For example, Itchy Business, How to Treat the Poison Ivy and Poison Oak Rash. Also, she is a current senior features writer for Grain Source DFW. Current project is the Ned Fritz Legacy, which is a biographical website of Ned Fritz, Texas' most famous environmentalist. Our speaker tonight, she also sits on the Dallas County Open Space Trails and Preserves Program Board and serves as State Social Media Director for the Native Prairies Association of Texas. For 12 years, she managed wildlife habitat on a private nature preserve in Northeast Texas, including converting 15 acres of pasture into tallgrass prairie. She's a certified Texas Master Naturalist with the North Texas chapter. You can find all of her writings at moonlady.com. Please help me in welcoming Amy Martin.
appreciate that. Yeah. Can we move the podium or will it upset the Zoom?
You can move it wherever you want, and I can move the camera.
It's blocking this side of the audience.
Is this better?
Hey there. Yes, here I am. While I'm thinking about it, if anybody wants to propagate hairy leaf cup, which is also called bear's foot, it's a shade plant. I have a lot of seeds, many more seeds than I need. Can you give me my water there, please? It's down on the floor. Thank you. I always forget. Wild DFW was released on July 11th this year, and NPSOT is a big part of the book, particularly the state programs. Made a list at one point of how many times NPSOT is mentioned. If you just open up the index, you'll see that there's just a lot of NPSOT in the book. Next. The first third of the book is natural history and ecology. Topics like, so it's a really good way to get to know the landscape, the terrain of where you live. It's almost like a little condensed master naturalist training. The first third of the book is. In fact, it taps into a lot of those teachers. But there's also topics like geology, weather, nature at night, citizen science, and turning your backyard or your yard into a nature sanctuary. In fact, the lead of that chapter is our own Cindy Kearney. The middle third is a field guide to over 100 species of plants and animals, and I had a great amount of help from Mary, oh gosh, I'm now having a blank on her name. Anyway, Mary, and she's associate with the Master Gardeners in Denton County, and Bill Freiheit. And they helped keep me on the level with my native plants. I really appreciated them. And then next, the final third is 25 eye-opening hiking adventures to places in the Fort County area, which is Dallas, Denton, Collin, and Tarrant counties. At least half of the places on this list, even veteran hikers have never heard of. So I'm really proud of some of the obscure places that I found, like Park Hill Prairie and the prairies on the east side of Lake Benbrook. So I'm going to be blasting through them all in this talk today. And next one. And I want to point out that this is a freshly baked talk. I've been giving this talk in another form, and it was too information dense. I talked too much. People kind of got tired. So this is newer and lighter, and I have no idea how it's going to last. It could be very short. Anyway, I cannot count how many times I have heard people say, there's no nature in North Texas. Or they'll say, you have to drive an hour to get to anything decent in North Texas. Seriously? Are you wearing these? Come on now. Next. This is 10 minutes from downtown Dallas. I saw deer there. 10 minutes, downtown Dallas. Next. This is right inside Fort Worth city limits. And there's 100 acres of that stuff. Next. This is within Denton city limits. Next. Heck, this is in the middle of Plano. Next. This is like up to 2 miles away. Same thing. Next. That's our mascot, our armadillo there, technical armadillo. Next. The preface to Wild DFW states, North Texas isn't widely known for its nature. This book aims to change that. Our nature is not over there in some remote wilderness. It's here, hidden among rivers and creeks, tucked away on the fringes of reservoirs. It's on rocky hilltops and floodplains wherever development was unfeasible. Next. North Texas is not a vista-driven landscape. It's far more interesting and intimate. The naysayers are at the tyranny of their expectations. They want North Texas to be something that it's not. Well, that doesn't work for people, and it doesn't work for land. The problem is the expectations. Let go of your expectations, and North Texas nature will open up for you. Next. As the opening chapter states, abandon the idea that prime outdoors means majestic mountains, deep canyons, or ocean views. North Texas nature fosters a profound intimacy that is best experienced close up, with unfolding layers that invite lingering exploration. Nature here is not a distant vista that you admire. It's something to immerse yourself in and be a part of, while it's a part of you. Next. Most North Texas nature is along the forks of the main stem of the Trinity, or its big tributaries. So look at this for a minute. This is our watershed. Every drop of water will eventually make its way to the Trinity River. The Trinity is much maligned, and unjustifiably so. People tend to repeat things that they heard like as far back as the 80s. And UTA, and those things are not true now. UTA did a water study of the Trinity and found that it was in much cleaner shape than most people think. And in fact, if it was dangerously polluted, the National Park Service would have never approved the Trinity River paddling trail because they did their own testing to make sure that it was safe. Next. North Texas has a surprising amount of diversity. And the reason is that our bedrock layers are tilted. Each of these layers gives rise to a different soil, and that creates a unique plant community specifically for that soil. And that plant community determines what animals and insects are going to be living there. So that's nearly 10 layers. So our diversity is tenfold. Deeper layers are generally older. So this tilt, which happened when East Texas sank, and it tilted all the bedrock layers like that, it brings time to the surface. And so on the east side of this, the Taylor Marl is about 65 million years old. On the west side of it, the Trinity Sands and the Goodland Limestone especially, is 300 million years old. Next. Adding to that diversity, in general, things get harder, higher, drier, and older as you go west in North Texas. So adding to that diversity is North Texas being an ecotone that transits the great eastern deciduous forest to the dry western plains. Rainfall, after being fairly consistent across the entire South, starts to drop off right at the Texas border. So annual precipitation decreases about 1 inch for every 20 miles you go west of the Louisiana state line. So you can see how that would create quite a dramatic change in the plants. Next. These ecoregions that we're all so familiar with, plus the post oak savanna to the east and the western cross timbers to the west, is what makes that segue go from a woods, the piney woods, to a mixture of woods and grasslands, to the Blackland Prairie grasslands, which used to be entirely grass and forbs, and it was kept that way by wildfire and bison. So having trees is new for the Blackland Prairie here in the cities. And then you go into the Eastern Cross Timbers, which again is another mix of prairie and woods. And then you go into the Grand Prairie, which is also called in the book the Fort Worth Prairie. And then the Western Cross Timbers, which is kind of like the last stand of the trees. And by the time you get to the Western Cross Timbers, they are really short trees. So some of them are shin oaks. They're like, knee high. It's kind of weird. So these ecoregions are really greatly shaped by the bedrock that you saw a minute ago. So Austin chalk gives rise to the Blackland Prairie. They're both the same. It also covers some marl and some other soils. Woodbine sandstone is what creates the sandy soil of the Eastern Cross Timbers, and so on. Next. So we're going to take a tour, and we're going to zip fairly quick through a couple of dozen places in Collin, Dallas, Denton, and Tarrant counties, going west to east. I have to include them all or I hurt somebody's feelings, so I have to. During the extended Q&A, if you hear one of these places that really intrigues you, just ask me and I will tell you all kinds of things about it. But I have to have you promise me this, is that in the next 12 months, you will see one of these places every month. Everybody say, I'm going to do this. Come on, hands up. All right, pinky swear. Pinky swear. All right. You got to get out and see these places, even if you just drive by. Next one. So we're going to start in Tarrant County, which I tell you was really fun getting to know Tarrant County. And I'll be doing a talk about that coming up, I think, next Saturday at Sandy Hills, talking about what it was like to get to know like this other prairie, not the Blackland Prairie I knew, and also just to get to know Tarrant County, which was far more interesting than I thought it would ever be. Okay, furthest west is the Fort Worth Nature Center, and you can see what it's got right there. I mean, this is where you take your newbies from out of state, right? Bison, alligators, you don't want to miss that. Okay, so next one. There are 6 types of soil at the refuge. And that makes great diversity and a variety of habitats. You can stay all day and never get bored. It's a great place to just drive around. There are all of these things off to the right that you can explore. It's just fantastic. Next one. There are hundreds of acres of Fort Worth Prairie on the east side of Benbrook Lake. This is a medium grass prairie that really thrives on shallow soil and really hard limestone, that 300-year-old limestone. It is, has anybody knew that this existed? Anybody? The Benbrook Prairies? Nobody knows about this, and it is so sad. It is really sad. Next one. Because that shallow soil on the eastern edge of, go 40 yards in to this Benbrook Prairie, and it's totally frontier. You're there, you're looking at North Texas the way it looked when the Native Americans were here, when the Chisholm Trail went right through this parcel. There are more than the Native Americans, it has a really interesting geology, and Native Americans knew this area as a place where these perched seeps, out of perched water tables, would provide fresh water for them. And so particularly this east side of what was then the Clear Fork, but is now a lake, was something that was really well known to them. And what's neat is that both this prairie, you walk in and the rest of the world just disappears. You forget entirely where you are. You literally go back in time. I swear you can just hear the echoes of all of the action that went through the stampedes of the cattle and, the Native Americans running around. It's just fantastic. But what is sad is that this parcel is no longer in existence. It was cleared and turned into a college campus. Next one. On the eastern edge of Fort Worth are hilltop prairies with views for miles and the best wildflower displays in North Texas. and that is Tandy Hills. What a fantastic place. And I tell people, don't you go doing something stupid like set off a confetti bomb or do a professional photo shoot there. Those volunteers will come out and like call the police on you. And the police have ticketed people. It's fantastic to see defense of nature that way. So fantastic people that help this out. Next one. So there are shallow soil across the top, hard limestone, and then you have these fantastic flowers. But everybody's really obsessed with flowers at Tandy Hills. Go down into the riparian areas, go down into the creeks at the bottom of the hill. You'll really understand why it's called Tandy Hills, because you got to get back up again. It was a workout, but it's beautiful down there. It's quiet, it's lush. There are over 1,700 species of plants at this place. Is that amazing or what? 1,700 species of plants, 1,200, sorry, native species of plants. It really benefits from the good management of Michelle Villafranca and Fort Worth Parks and the stewardship of Don Young and Friends of Tandy Hills, Cross Timbers Master Naturalists. It's just superb. Next one. So I love this place with all my heart. I am so glad I discovered it, and it's another example of just volunteers being super superb. It is a perfect example of Eastern Cross Timbers. If you want to understand what is Eastern Cross Timbers, go here. You will see it and you will understand it. And the blackjack oaks, the post oaks, the really unusual plants like white honeysuckle, it is just super fantastic. It's Sherry Cape Hart Nature Preserve. It was formerly called Southwest Nature Preserve. They changed the name during the production of the book. I had to go back, change everything. But really good management here, really good activities, bats and everything else. Yes, Connie?
There's a walk this weekend at the Sherry Cake Farm. I think it's Impact is doing it.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, yeah. And they usually do stuff on the weekends. Really fantastic. And it's kind of funny because you get up to the top and there's all these prairies at the top of the cuesta. And there is this one prairie that's up there that has Glen Rose yucca, which is an endemic, only found in a few counties. And it also has Comanche harvester ants. And there's a lady that did a PhD on Comanche harvester ants, and she'll go out there and talk to you a lot about Comanche harvester ants.
Where is this?
This is in southwest corner of Arlington. It's right off of I-20. Next one. You get up to the top and again, the world just disappears. I mean, it is 360 surrounded by Arlington and some other weird little suburb. But you get up there and you don't hear it, you don't see it, and you're up there with this 250-year-old post oak, that one there on the left. It is just a fantastic place. Next one. So there is so much interesting geology up there, just so much. And it looks like I lost a slide. Okay. River Legacy Park may not be wild, but it's lovely. It has Texas's most charming nature center. If you're looking for a place to just kind of walk around in your business clothes, River Legacy grounds is really, really nice for that. It's a place where you can just kind of go in and let the rush hour traffic subside, you know, and just enjoy yourself. Next one. So, wetlands in the middle of Arlington, right next door to River Legacy. I don't know how many acres it is, probably about 100. It's behind a dike that's really tall, so there's a dike around the outside of it. So again, you get inside this place and the rest of the world disappears and there's like giant sports stuff going on across the street and River Legacy and the mountain bikes and all this action, and it just disappears while you're there. It's a little dry right now, So wait for the next big rain, give it another couple of weeks, and all the migrating waterfowl will come through. It is considered a birding hotspot. We do wish that the Arlington Water Department would put more water into it so we'd have more birds, but we're working on that. It is just a beautiful place. Next. So now we're going to go to Denton County. Next. So who knew that there was a national recreation trail on the shores of Lake Grapevine, on the southern shores? Everybody goes to the north shore of Lake Grapevine. Oh, no, 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 no. The fun is on the south side of Lake Grapevine. And a bunch of equestrians put in this trail called Walnut Grove National Recreation Trail. So they did a good job for it. They went to the Park Service and they got National Recreation Trail status. It is just fantastic. The best way to get to it is to, oh, and the nice thing about equestrian trails, no mountain bikes. Big plus, big plus. It's really nice. You can kind of start out in Bob Jones Nature Center is one of the best places to take the trailhead, because Bob Jones Nature Center has these lovely paths that are kind of made for kids, but they're really easy to walk and they're very pretty. There are deer everywhere. I mean, everywhere on the south side of Lake Grapevine. And it is Eastern Cross Timbers, beautiful, mature post oaks. It is just really fantastic. It's very kid friendly. And then once you take the trailhead from there, right along the shore, you'll run into the National Recreation Trail, and you can go like 8 miles that way, and 10 miles that way, and you can go to the tip of Grapevine Lake, and you can catch more trails. It's really a nice trail complex out there. And if you're looking for a place to hike after there's been a lot of rains, hike there. The soil's real sandy, and it's actually easier after rain. Next one. Of the 5 largest nature parks and preserves in North Texas, 3 of them are in Denton County. And we're having a panel about this in a couple of weeks at Thrive Center in Louisville, done by Friends of Leela, to try to get the attention of the powers that be in Denton, that they need to slow and manage their development much better, because they could be known as a nature hotspot that could bring in nature tourism from all over the state and from other states if Denton would start to manage their nature with more care. At the north end of it all is Ray Roberts Lake State Park. I tell you, this is a super popular park, and I bet none of y'all have been there. Have you? Anybody been there? Yay! Much more hands than I usually see. That's fantastic. It really is a beautiful park. It is Eastern Cross Timbers with kind of Blackland Prairie, kind of Fort Worth Prairie. It's an interesting kind of a mishmash of stuff there. There is over 30 miles of trails. You can wander forever. It's a great place to hike in the winter because the trails are really kind of sunny. Again, they're made for equestrians, so no bikes, but they will take you much closer into nature than any of the other trails at the park will do, except for the Lost Pines Trail. We'll get to that in just a second. But there are white-tailed deer everywhere. And if you've got someone who can't hike anymore, but they just want to see nature, take them there in a car, drive around. You'll see all kinds of things. Next one. Yet within this park is a patch of pine forest, because nature just sort of laughs at our definitions and our maps and stuff. And it's really a fun thing called Lost Pines Trail. And then south of the park, you can get to it from the park, there is a green belt that goes all along the Elm Fork of the Trinity for 10 miles. I mean, it is fantastic. Again, don't take the pedestrian option. Go to the other side of the river and take the equestrian option, and you'll get much better views and much more shade. Next one. Louisville Lake Environmental Learning Center, which everybody calls Lila. We love this place. It's located at the base of the dam of Louisville Lake. It is an ecological study area for students at UNT. So they're doing things like bird banding and studying painted buntings. And there's people there, I think they're from UNT, they may be independent, and they are basically kind of breeding and shepherding and fostering box turtles because they realized that the box turtle population of Lila was declining. And so they went, well, let's just kind of breed a few. And so they have like a little box turtle nursery, and it's very, very cool. So that's why they call it a learning area, because it really is there for UNT students. Big, over 2,600 acres. I would say that the trails maybe cover 200, 300 acres of it. So watch in the next 10 years as more sections of Lila start to open up. The Native Prairies Association of Texas is having a meeting in Louisville on the first Saturday in November, and they're going to be taking a field trip late that afternoon to Lila to see the prairie restoration that most people don't get to see unless you're like Hilton and you go there and sweat for 5 hours a day. It's really fantastic to see this prairie restoration, which is a mega project. Just let you know that Richard Freiheit is a maniac to take this on. He's an absolute maniac. Next one. Lila straddles the Eastern Cross Timbers and the Blackland Prairie. Right there is where the transition happens. And so you get this wonderful edge effect. You get a lot of diversity because you're getting both from both. And then sometimes you'll actually like go 10 yards and changes, 10 yards, it changes. And it's a really interesting effect. Lila has a wonderful wetness. It just has a lot of wet. There's a sprawling beaver pond that you can kayak in and like say hi to the herons and the little tiny alligators and stuff. If they're still there, they froze, as I understand. There is a sprawling bittern marsh called the Bittern Marsh. Really beautiful, 2 bird blinds, fantastic water plants, a really interesting place, super popular trail. There's a wet woods with these exotic pitcher plants that you usually see like in the big thicket in Southeast Texas. You get to see this plant called green dragons. And they're so cool. And, you kind of have to really look for them, and they're only out for a short period of time, but take the Green Dragon Trail in the spring and see if you can catch some. You get great access to the Elm Fork at Lila and great water bird watching from there. And also, if you like to fish, it's a great place to fish. Next one. So you can go upstream to Clear Creek Natural Heritage Area, which is inside the city of Denton. Huge wetlands, because it's basically a flood control basin for water releases from Lake Ray Roberts. There are riparian woods along the creek that are cathedral gorgeous, absolutely wonderful. They've got some prairie, they've just expanded it, and they got a whole bunch of upland woods. They have this beautiful big creek, and they also have this big old river right there. It's Army Corps of Engineer lands, which is really where you find some of the best hiking in North Texas, is along and around their projects. Next one. But you gotta hope that the log jam that is always at the Elm Fork and Highway 360, that the City of Denton, Texas Highway Department, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are constantly fighting over whose responsibility is it. Get it together, folks, and fix the log jam. Because when it backs up, this is what the trails can look like. It was just, we decided, standing there in the water, that it would be a lot less mileage to just go forward than to retrace our steps and go all the way around the wetlands. So forward we went, and we got to touch the frog jelly eggs, and we got to stay way far away from the fire ants on the bottom. that was very fun to see that go by. What a thrill. Next one. So, next one. Clear Creek changed my life. Absolutely. On a rainy day 4 years ago in April, my car slid and it slammed into a highway guardrail, which curled up like a sardine can and landed on my car. In the emergency ward of Big Baylor near downtown Dallas, doctors discovered that I had shattered my C2 or second cervical vertebrae. That injury is called a hangman's fracture for its death-dealing capabilities. Half who incur it die right away. Half are paralyzed, sometimes paraplegically. 2% walk away, and I was in that 2%. Next. A brilliant Baylor surgeon saved my life by sandwiching what was left of my C2 between my C1 and C3, and they stabilized it with titanium rods and screws. A 3-inch slice of my pelvis was taken out and bone grafted to all of that. And there was a problem with that, though. The pivot of the C1 and the C2 gives you 25% of your balance. It's what enables you to look over your shoulder. This is all I can do. That's as far as it goes. So it kind of serves as a gyroscope to keep your world level. It's kind of like the first line of your balance. And it was gone. Basically, I had to learn to walk again. Next. It was rough going getting that balance back. I spent months in a neck brace and a walking cane. And I was up there in Denton. I was given a poison ivy talk. And I went, Clear Creek is right there. What if I just kind of checked it out? And I was so excited when I drove up to the parking lot that I just kind of leapt out of my car and I left my neck brace and I left my walking cane and I headed down the trail. Well, about 20 yards in, the world began to spin. I had no idea where my feet were because I can't look down and see my feet. I stumbled and I fell right on my face. And I burst out crying. It was like, no, I am not going to give up hiking. I am not going to let this go from my life. I want to hike, and I want to hike wild places. So I got back on my feet, and I staggered down the trail. My footprints looked like a drunk. I was just all over the place. But after a quarter mile, well, my vestibular system, my inner ear started going, okay, wait a minute. This is real challenging. This is like really uneven and the soil is slippery and, there's like tripping hazards that you sort of have to anticipate. And well, I got back home and I put away my cane and I put away my neck brace and I never used them again. Yeah. Next one. Because I look like a chipmunk in that thing. I am now a relentless advocate for dirt trails and for the benefits of them as opposed to paved trails. We pour millions of dollars into paved trails for bicyclists. There are 7 times as many hikers as there are bicyclists. Where are our trails? Which is why I joined Dallas County Open Space. Let's see, flipped too many pages there. I hit all the trails that I could to really facilitate my healing, and those trails are a part of Wild DFW. Next. So there is nature in Collin County. I'm here to testify. Next. Can you believe there are prairie remnants in the middle of Plano, and big ones too? And it's in Oak Point Nature Preserve. Many acres of it. This is actually Blackland Prairie in process. This over here is off of Acorn Drive, and there wouldn't be any prairie there if it wasn't for Carol Clark, who basically just said, you want to put an amphitheater on my prairie? No, no, you will not. And that prairie exists there today. Next one. Oh, and that meadow, if you'll go back a minute, that meadow right there, which is right off the paved trail, go there in the summer, and particularly after there's been rains, thousands of fireflies. I mean, it is so fantastic to watch. And you just park yourself and just look. It is absolute magic. Next one. So, just up the creek is Connemara Meadow, where they are creating prairie, a patch at a time. They take seeds and plants from one patch and they put it in the next patch, and then they just keep marching up this slope with all of these restored prairie patches. And it is wildflower meadows. I mean, it is intensely flowered in the spring in particular, but there's also a riparian corridor along Rowlett Creek that has got some big pecan trees, and that's where they do their special events, and it's really just a beautiful place. The interesting thing about it is that it's privately owned, and the volunteers there are possibly the most devoted group I have ever met. Next one. The Herd Nature Sanctuary. It has amazing variety. Starts out on a significant chalk escarpment and then just has these descending slopes that go down until the next thing you know, you're in these riparian woods with these huge trees, including a bur oak and another type of tree that have their own fan clubs. You know, they have like Facebook pages and people take pictures of them all the time. And they have benches where you can just sit there and look at the big giant tree. They have probably what's the most astounding thing about it is that they have this big wetlands called the Heron Slough, and it has this boardwalk that just wanders all through the wetlands. And when you're there, especially if you're there in the summer, you'll see a little spit of the boardwalk, and it seems like it goes out to nowhere. Stand there, look across the wetlands, and there will be the biggest heron rookery you have ever seen. Oh my God, and it is loud, and it is so fun. So, next one. In the far northeast county corner of Collin County is Park Hill Prairie. I was out there for the solar eclipse, just like you folks at Matthews, and we had a great time with Rich James. And in fact, he was so fascinating, we kept forgetting to look up because he was constantly showing us these fascinating little things. And yes, we ate the prairie rose hips, and that was tons of fun. It was kind of fun coaxing people into, don't worry, it's not gonna hurt you. Have it. Tastes like nothing, but you're eating the prairie. What's not to like? So it is. It's glorious. It's even magical. You kind of go over this rise, and the prairie remnant spreads out in front of you. And it is, again, you're looking at what North Texas looked like before all the development came in. It's magical, and it's all off trail. Brandon Belcher doesn't allow any trails within the prairie remnant. And so you just take off and start walking. And it's amazing what you can see in a prairie if you walk slowly. And he kept saying, get down and look low. Get down and look low, because you're focused on these tall grasses and these giant Maximilian sunflowers. And then there's all this delicate, fun stuff that's down there at the base. Great times were had. Next one. And then you got this. This was out of range, but I insisted that we include it. And that is Hagerman National Wildlife Refuge on Lake Texoma. Tens of thousands of waterfowl will start arriving like in November. And they overwinter there because, you know, to birds up north, we're the south. That's where they come to overwinter. And all of these birds are not only attracted by the fish and the crustaceans and all that's in the lake, but they plant fields of winter grains for these birds. And so it is, I mean, what bird wouldn't want a place with a buffet? You know, it's fantastic. Also, there is over 25 miles of trails there. So if you're into hiking, that's where you need to go. And it's really good hiking in the summer. They have these free weekend van tours, which Bert Garcia is one of the drivers. He's just hilarious and it's just a lot of fun. Again, if you know someone who's past their hiking years, take them on one of these van tours. Take them on a self-guided auto tour. They will see so many birds and so much nature. Next one. So now we're going to go through, that breathe reminder is for me, to Dallas County. Next one. If you mention nature in Dallas, most people say, oh yeah, White Rock Lake, you know, and it's like, well, do you think White Rock Lake is all developed and fancy? Well, a lot of it is, right? It's pretty fancy. But Wild DFW has found all of the wild for you at White Rock Lake. And I put it in a handy map where you can just look at the map and know where to go. So there is on the north end of White Rock Lake, at the tip end, there's this wonderful wetwoods. Just go and sit next to it off the paved biking trail. The noises are amazing. Seriously, there are some creatures in there that are like big. There is the middle section, which has a Dixon Branch, and the spill comes out into Sunset Bay. Just walk along Dixon Branch. You will see so many creatures. Go in the morning, so many owls and coyotes and hawks. It's astounding wildlife there. And then if you go all the way to the south, you've got the Old Fish Hatchery, which is like coated in warblers right now. And it's, you know, it's got a lot of invasives and stuff, but the birds don't seem to care. They have a great time there. And the spillway action, really good bird watching and funny because they're often kind of feuding with each other. There is a terrific pollinator garden at the Bathhouse Cultural Center, which was sort of funny because it got out, it became the place to photograph hummingbirds this year. So it's been outed in the bird groups and they all go there. In fact, they have to kind of get each other out of their shots and stuff because there's so many photographers hanging around. There are benches for sunset contemplation. There are on the east side, on the west side, there are docks along the lake where you can watch the moon rise over the water. Simply magical. There is wild at White Rock. Next one. Spring Creek Forest Preserve. It's such a lovely place and it's so well loved by its volunteers that it just responds, you know, to all of that love. It has a little bit of everything. It has riparian woods, it has upland woods, it has limestone prairies, it has a really big creek, and it has this really unique mix of trees that if you're a tree nerd and you see them all together, you're like, this is so special to have these particular trees in the same proximity of each other. And that was discovered by Ned Fritz. And that's what led to it being saved, was this unique plant community that were there. So well loved. And the trees are just huge. Next one. Like that. Look how big that tree is. That's in the southern section there. It is a magical, magical place. And I tell people it's really a perfect place to not worry about where you are. Don't look at the map. Just start walking and just go down this trail and then go down that trail and then maybe go see the creek and, oh, look, there's a bee's nest and, oh, what's this old Bel Air doing here? It gets painted every year by the high school seniors. It's kind of weird, but they can't get it out of the soil, so there you have it. And it is just a marvelous place to become a kid again. You know, it's safe, it's contained, it's marvelous. It's just marvelous. Next one. If you want to get your rock on, go to Piedmont Ridge in southeast Dallas, otherwise known as Pleasant Grove. It has got this wonderful place called the Cyan Overlook, and you can actually see Cedar Hill from that place. It has a lot of Native American history. It has a lot of pioneer history. lovely views of the northern end of the Great Trinity Forest, which most people don't realize goes all the way up to Cheyenne Drive and Longview. It is really a beautiful place. There are, let's see, there is a southern section of it. Okay, next one. That was Cheyenne Overlook. Then they have a middle section, which is this beautiful lowland woods that has all of this pioneer history to it. And it is just lovely and so quiet. And then the dark line comes through. And then it goes back to being lovely and quiet again. It's kind of funny. You park at the clubhouse and you take the trail out of there. Then there's a middle section which goes along this really narrow ridge of the Piedmont Ridge. And what's funny is that you get up there, you're going through the trees and through the weird little Buckley oaks, which are like scaled down red oaks. And you get up there and there's prairie. There's prairie on a ridge top. It is just really interesting. And New Jersey pea, like tons of them up there, and echinacea, and just all the right plants are up there on the top of the ridge. It is north and south of the Grover Keaton Golf Course. And if you go to the next, oh no, go back. And then if you go all the way down to a section that is outside of Devin Anderson Park, you kind of have to drive to it. You get this Comanche storytelling place, which is legendary among historians. And if you go there in a full moon, you'll see why, because the full moon lights up this series of limestone terraces, and you can see how they traveled to there to have their gatherings, which is really cool to think that it's still there and still doing its thing, and the Comanches still do come and visit it. But at the very end of that trail, you'll see this squatty, funny-looking tree, and it's the oldest tree in Dallas County. It's up there on this ridge. It's burnt a couple of times. It's been chopped down and grew back. Deer have gnawed on it, and it still continues to live. And Steve Hauser is particularly fond of this tree. And just imagine the stories that it heard in its life, and it's over 200 years old. It is a Buckley's oak. It looks just like a Shumard oak, but everything's scaled down. It's kind of trippy. Somebody asked me once why the red oaks were sick up there, and I'm like, no, that's a species.
How old is it today?
200, at least 200 years. Yeah. They have a lot of names for it, and they changed the Latin name, the botanical name for it at one point. Now everybody's just completely confused. I tell you, they ought to stop that. Just leave the old name. For people like me, I can't keep up. All right, next one. Cedar Ridge Preserve. Well, there's this big Austin chalk escarpment that slices across the southwest section of the Dallas County. It actually is responsible for moving the West Fork into a different direction, which is in my other talk. And there resides Cedar Ridge Preserve. It's located at a very interesting intersection because it's there with Austin Chalk, which is very hard, but then right next to it is Eagle Ford Shale, which roads really fast. And so you have the Austin Chalk up here, and this Eagle Ford Shale is down here, and that's what creates the vistas of Cedar Ridge Preserve, is this junction of these two bedrocks that you saw earlier in that diagram. But all too often overlooked in this place are the magnificent prairies with magnificent wildflowers every spring and fall. It's just a terrific place, but it's got kind of a sad story. Next. There's the prairies there. Cedar Ridge Preserve is known right now as a major hiking destination. It was supposed to be a bird preserve. Dallas Audubon, after all, manages it. They are struggling to keep up with, get this, 600,000 visitors a year. Whoa, they are struggling, folks. Give them some money, because they are trying to buy another 100 acres, and what they want to do is make that 100 acres a bird preserve and try to keep the hiking mania out of that so that the birds, like the golden cheek warblers, might feel like coming back again. Next one. Much quieter is Dogwood Canyon. Quiet enough to meditate in, quiet enough for forest bathing. It is you can take a trail and go up to the canyon plateau top, and you've got 6 different vistas. Cedar Ridge only has like one vista. You look over at the lake. You get all these different vistas up there. And they put in a new trail, which will take you to the Dogwood Grove. And you want to be there in March to see the dogwoods bloom because they're not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be in East Texas. Why they're there, no one is really sure. It's not particularly the kind of soil that they like. And then this new trail follows this creek, which has got some of the best bird watching I've ever done. And I'm not that much of a bird watcher, but they were everywhere. And really interesting plants there. Next one. Kind of out of range, but technically in Kaufman County, but there to the southeast corner of Dallas County is Bunker Sands Wetlands. It's an immense place. So many water birds, lots of river otters, spotted gar, tons of reptiles, lots more. They got nesting bald eagles there because they like the fish that's all around and everything. It is lots of special events. It's just a really wonderful place. Next one. So let's wrap up our tour with the Great Trinity Forest. It's 6,000 acres, or Dallas's most greatest and most neglected natural asset. I get more questions about the Great Trinity Forest than any other place. How can I experience it, people ask, and I say, it ain't easy. The Wild DFW tries to show you how. Next. Start out at the Trinity River Audubon. They have a forest trail. It's nice, white trail, 200-year-old pecan, very easy to do. If you've got someone who's a little nervous about nature, that's a really good place to take them and ease them into the process. Next one. Or if you're going into Trinity River Audubon, you'll notice there's a little parking lot there off to the left. And that is the trailhead for the Trinity Forest Trail, which is this paved trail. As you know, I'm not real fond of them. And but if you go one direction, that trail will take you over the Trinity River. And there are just not many opportunities for people to be on top of the Trinity River and just sit there and watch it flow. It's really nice, really worth the paved trail. And when you read the book, you will learn the secret way to get to the McComas Bluff Preserve by taking a quasi trail that will lead you into the parts of McComas Bluff Preserve that are safe and easy to do. Next one. But thanks to volunteers from the North Texas Master Naturalists and others, the natural trails sections of the Ned and Jeannie Fritz Texas Buckeye Trail are rocking once again. They're in really fine shape. I led a hike there just a couple of weeks ago. I took some television reporters there, and they were just blown away. Again, you're 10 minutes from downtown Dallas, and there's this intense forest serenity and noises. And I know that, sometimes you'll see deer on these trails. You'll certainly see them if you get off trail. Next one. If you're willing to go wild, there's lots of wandering in the Texas Buckeye area. You're on Dallas Park land, and it's perfectly safe to walk through there. There's new trails coming in, which will take you all through this wild area. Trinity Coalition is doing that, and I'm terribly excited about it. And these trails will loop you around and take you to the Bonton Pond, which most people know as Bart Simpson Lake, because it looks like Bart Simpson's head when you look at it on Google Maps. So out of respect to the community, we're calling it Bonton Pond. And the little island that's Bart's eye, we're calling Mystery Island. So we're trying to get the neighborhood all happy with it. Next one. My favorite, though, is the Hollins Trail. Again, nobody knows about this one. It was made by the Texas Horse Park. So the trail actually comes from one direction. So people who are not with the Texas Horse Park have to kind of meet it from another direction. And a group is going out there to basically make that easier to find. But it is probably the most perfect section of the Great Trinity Forest that you can get. There are hardly any invasives. It's very, very quiet. The trees are by and large big. If you know what to look for, and this app called Texas Explorer by a couple of young gals will actually show you the little spur that will take you to the confluence of the White Rock Creek. And to me, that's the heart of the Great Trinity Forest. And it is really special to be there. My love affair with White Rock Creek and my coming to this confluence is kind of a theme that winds through the book. Next one. Or just keep going south. If you've ever been to Rogers Wildlife to drop off a bird, you're right around the corner from this place, which is Goat Island Preserve in the Dallas County Open Space. And it is a big chunk of the Great Trinity Forest, a couple hundred acres. It's in between the river and a dike. So once you're in, you don't even realize there's a concrete crushing plant next door. It's really quiet within there. This guy named Joe Johnson just keeps making trails. And so there's probably 12, 15 miles of trails there. There's even now trails that bikes are not allowed on that are on the Goat Island itself, which is only an island when we have a lot of rain. And it's just a beautiful, fantastic place. Pileated woodpeckers everywhere, and that is just so rare, but it is beautiful, just beautiful. They also, Joe, and they had to carry these things out there, but there are nice metal picnic tables and benches. You're out there in the boonies, and there's this bench, and you sit down and you watch the river. It's just lovely, and that's Joe Johnson. Just what a wonderful human being. Next one. So I hope someone timed this. I have no idea how long I've gone. I hope I've enthused you about North Texas nature. Nature has no expectations of us. It's not impressed by us, which is a total blow to our ego. It wants nothing from us. It has nothing to sell us. Being in nature helps us find the core of who we are because we don't have those distractions. It's what I call a neutral environment. And that's really a gift to us to have that neutral environment. Next, if you will, oh, that was what that was supposed to be with. Next one. Okay. If you'll visit the book's website, wild-dfw.com, and you'll go to the community page. Every park, every person, every group that is mentioned in the book is on this community page with a clickable link. There's also a page for all the beautiful photographers that you have seen. You can click their links and find even more of their work. There's Wild DFW pages at Facebook and Instagram, and I make a few posts a week about the groups that are mentioned in the book. And so those Facebook pages and Instagram feeds become sort of like this portrait of the North Texas nature community, and y'all have been part of those posts. And if you'll see the talks and walks page at this website, you'll find other talks that I'm doing. I have one called Ecotone, which is about geology. I have a special Trinity talk, which I'll be trotting out a lot more next year. I'm developing a Prairies talk. And then there's just some special talks. I'm doing a talk about what it was like to write this book. So a lot of interesting specialty talks there. Next one. This is my project. I love Ned Fritz with all my heart. His wife is still alive, Jeannie on the left. Just amazing. Texas's greatest environmentalist. Without him, the Trinity River would have been a barge canal from Fort Worth to the Gulf. Imagine that. Imagine that we almost lost the Trinity River. He's responsible for 30,000 wilderness acres in East Texas National Forest. He started 2 of Texas's most important nature groups. He, oh God, I can go on and on about Ned. He is really fantastic. Basically it's his biography, but it's a work in progress, and I'm still writing about it. Next one. And I'll still talk about poison ivy to anybody who'll listen. I think that poison ivy and the rash is a big reason why some people just hate nature. And so if we can teach people how to manage poison ivy rash better and deal with the rash better, because I can teach you how to shorten the rash by half, then we'll have an easier time convincing people that they need to go out into nature. I think it's really important, and I'm trying to get Timber Press to agree to republish this book in color. Next one. That's it. I'm done. Really, seriously. Does anybody know how long that talk went? Because I have never. Really? It was supposed to be shorter. Oh, boogers. I am so sorry. Well, I think it's those extemporaneous things. Well, thank you very much. No, I was trying to make this a shorter talk. Gee. There's a lot to cover. And like I said, if I leave anybody out, they get their feelings hurt. So I know. That was my thought too. So I got to stop with the extemporaneous talk. Anyway, I'm here to answer your questions unless you're ready to go home. Yes.
If you drive, or when I drive north on Buckner from Garland, I cross over Dixon Branch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do, I've taken to looking to the right, and it looks kind of wild in there.
That's it. Yeah.
Is that a place to go?
Yes. Yeah, the section between Buckner and Sunset Bay is very wild. Just walk along the edges of it. And again, you'll hear all kinds of interesting.
Well, I'm talking about the other side.
Other side is not too wild.
It looks kind of wild from Buckner.
Yeah, it's pretty spare. It's pretty spare. And then it goes under PV, and then that's my green belt. Oh. And that's a pretty sweet little area there. Yeah, but it's the other, where the stone tables are. Park yourself at the stone tables in the morning, and you'll see all kinds of wonderful, like, carnage as the hawks and the owls are hunting everything, and the coyotes are going by with rabbits in their mouths, and and the bald eagles are back. Yeah, if you'll follow Nick DeGennaro, he knows where the bald eagles are building their nest, and he ain't telling anybody, but his photos are fantastic. He was the bird photographer for the book, and I'm so glad that I got his stuff. Yeah. Other questions? Everybody ready to go after 1 hour, 20 minutes of talk? Oh my God.
Hey, our meeting was 20 minutes. You were right at an hour.
Really? Okay. That makes me feel better. Okay. All right. That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you. I got books here if anybody wants to buy one, but feel no pressure. Any other questions? I mentioned Texas Native Park in the book. So thank y'all for some of y'all got the book and gave it to Laura. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Is the 3rd of November.
And that's when you're going to give it to her? Oh, I'm so excited about that. Oh, nice. I so impressed my in-laws with that. Laura Bush is going to see my book. Nice. Yes. Because it is a perfect place to get to know native plants in their element. Yeah, it is really a gift to us. That was a wonderful thing they did. And I think it was Lois who was saying, people are always saying, why don't you neaten this up? And it's like, then it wouldn't look like Prairie Chapel Ranch, and that's what they built it for. So that's real sweet. Thank you for that. All right. Anybody else? I can go all night. So, All righty. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So the talk probably was more like 40 minutes.
Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you guys online for tuning in.
Yes, hi online. Oh, good.